So let's move on now, because he's trying to bring peace to the streets.
Yes, thank you.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse.
Yes.
This is Liberation Day in DC, and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is?
Yeah.
And placing the DC Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that...
You know the TDS is starting to act up in all the liberals as they watch this announcement. Because see, what ended up happening, what made this go ahead and escalate was when Big Balls got beat up. Now, Big Balls is living up to his nickname, man. This man was out there trying to stop somebody from getting robbed, and then he got jumped. It took like 11 or 12 of them to beat Big Balls up. Just the fact that that is a very scrawny, pure, 100% white man right there. I mean, the fact that he was even willing to take a stance and stand up, I'm like, Big Balls don't look like he could bust a grape, beat his way out of a paper bag, but it's all about the heart. It's the heart. So Big Balls had the heart to go in there and he got beat up. Probably would have gotten stomped to death if some officers didn't, witness it and stop it. Probably got stomped to death. Because see, when these folks go into that frenzy and start jumping people, which is a vicious thing to watch. I witnessed many of these type of frenzies. It's like sharks in the water, or should I say demons too? Because see, once one demon of violence jump in there, it starts to jumping on other people. And they stomp folks really bad. I saw a guy get beat one time where I was like, I don't even know if that guy lived or not. I mean, I couldn't stick around to watch it, but I'm watching like 20-something people just take turns stomping him, slamming him on his head on the concrete. And I'm watching this going, Kev, don't get involved in this. I was a young man at the time, probably about 22, 23. And I'm going, now I could scrap, but it's about 20-something folks beating this guy. And it looks like they're going to kill him. Okay, going to kill him. To this day, no idea what happened to him. And the sorry police came after they did that. And he was laying under some bushes, bleeding, face all swollen up. And the dumb cop, all he did was say, hey, man, you okay? And the guy was like, yeah. And I'm thinking, this guy could have slipped into a coma any second. Yeah, the guy just whispered like, yeah. And okay, man, we're going to head on out, man. That was it. And I'm going, no ambulance, no nothing. Whatever happened to this man? So these things can get out of control. And it might seem cute and fun to the folks who's doing it at the time, until somebody gets killed, and then they're all going, well, we didn't mean to do that. So these type of activities must be stopped. That violence wouldn't have ever occurred if these young adults wouldn't be so, motivated to steal stuff out there in Washington, D.C. And somebody who got the nerve to intervene or interrupt their thievery can become a victim of this, like Big Balls.
That will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety.
Yeah, good stuff.
In Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
Good.
And you people are victims of it, too. You're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get... You don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed.
Nobody wants that.
And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something.
Yeah. Now I'm going to say something that probably might be controversial, but it's true. There are two types of large violent groups taking place in our country. You got the political violence, which is mostly white, young, Antifian type folks who, exercise this violence on behalf of the radical left and the Democrat Party. They do their bidding, and they're very violent. Then you got just violence for just whatever gain, personal gain. This is, this is committed primarily by young black youths. You don't usually see. In fact, I've never seen a large group of white kids stomping somebody, or a large group of white kids rushing into stores and ripping everything off the shelves and bouncing. Now, these large groups of black kids who are committing a lot of this violence are in Democrat cities. This type of violence, when it comes to these large mobs stealing stuff, cars, breaking in things, it didn't start popping off until Democrats start changing and relaxing a lot of their laws when it comes down to holding these young black men accountable. By doing that, what you're doing is you're setting a lot of them up for failure. If you spare the rod, you'll spoil the child. So now Democrats are responsible for violence increasing on two fronts: political violence and just regular violence in the inner cities. But when you go in to deal with the violence in these inner cities, unfortunately, since it's predominantly committed by black folks, these people will yell, only reason you're doing this is because these folks are black. And I'm saying, okay, so that's your excuse. No, we wouldn't have to do that if you guys wouldn't have went on the George Floyd, reforming of our society that says, okay, don't hold a lot of these young black folks accountable for their actions. And by not doing that, what do you end up doing? Letting them be sorry. We got a lot of white liberals who are mad at Trump for this. And you got a lot of course, black liberals who are mad that this is happening as well. But black folks with common sense are saying, I'm cool. Let him come in and do it. Me, as a law-abiding black man, I don't get scared when I see police officers patrolling, walking around the street. In fact, I feel a little bit better. When I'm walking around and I'm at some type of outing or outdoor function, whether I'm worried about somebody having a violent interaction with somebody else and, gunfire takes off, or even some terroristic act taken off, I feel a lot better when the police are there. And I'm saying, at least I got a front line of defense that will confront whatever thing takes place. So now I can relax and eat a snow cone. Now I can go ahead and tone down just a little bit my hypersensitive, view of society. Because when I go out, I'm like the Terminator. I'm looking around at everybody and judging, going, all right, that guy's a potential threat. Where's the exits? If things break out, what would be my strategy? How would I deal with this? And stuff like that. But when I see police presidents, I'm going, okay, I can relax here. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's how law-abiding citizens should view this. But when you try to switch the motive of why Trump is doing this and aim it at, well, he's doing this because he's targeting black folks, that right there is not doing black folks a service. It's doing them a disservice. And we're going to get into some of those people who are responsible for that in a second.
And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about.
Now look at CNN. CNN's premiering this, and what they're doing, they're showing stuff counter to what Trump is saying. Homicides down 12%. Sex abuse down 49%. Assault with dangerous weapons down 20%. So they think that they are, like they always do, gaslighting their audience. Between them and the deep state, which, of course, under Biden, the deep state was inflating numbers when it comes down to right-wing violence. The right-wing violence is up, and I'm going, it is? You know what? The greatest threat to the homeland is white supremacists. Where are all these white supremacists at? Where are they meeting? That's my question. So they fix these numbers to control and manipulate society and for political reasons. So now here you have it. They're trying to say, well, as Trump is talking, we're going to be fact-checking him real time with fake numbers.
As being the worst places on earth, much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings.
Wow, look at that, 5 years.
Carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years.
Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you can pay me to drive my man truck to a big city. If I had to go to a big city, if somebody called and booked me, we want you to come to New York and speak, or we want you to come to Washington, D.C. and speak, or California and speak, I'd be like, all right, you got to fly me because I'm not driving. I'm not, as much as I hate flying, but I'm not going to drive my vehicles at least, up to any of these cities. And whether they sanctuary cities, whether they are cities that are, they got strict gun laws, I'll just take my chances with my piece in the car. Even if I do got a rented car that doesn't, just straight protect me from one of these stupid kids putting a bullet in me. I'm telling you, I'll be like, hey man, I'm riding around with my piece right in my lap. Like, Now, I don't have to worry about that around here. I mean, we don't have a high carjacking epidemic in Ohio. These things are isolated towards certain cities, and they're not able to stop and say, what is it that all of these cities where all of these things are taking place have in common? Nobody's able to see that. Relaxed laws, woke politicians who don't hold them accountable, and ran by Democrat politicians. That's what they have in common.
Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it. When you say take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world. Red is okay. The red is a place called Washington, D.C.
Washington.
Look at these. Baghdad we doubled up on Baghdad.
Holy moly.
Panama City, Brasilia, San Jose, Costa Rica, Bogota, Colombia, heavy drugs. Mexico City, I mentioned, Lima, Peru. All double and triple what they are. So do you want to live in places like that?
Probably. Apparently. See, now, honestly, if you're real honest, the folks who would be screaming the loudest about this is racism, this is a takeover, overreach of power for Trump and stuff, they usually will go back home to nice neighborhoods so they don't have to worry about this stuff. Yeah, the folks in the media, they don't worry about the young black kids who have to deal with this and stuff like that. And this violence is overflowing. DC is so infested that these young, unfortunately, black children that are committing a lot of these crimes, they done went ahead and said, let's start doing it in the inner city. Let's start going into districts that most of the time are populated with business folks, working folks, a lot of, people walking up and down the street for their coffee breaks. Let's do that. When I was growing up in Youngstown, there were certain areas that all of the crime took place. They didn't go up to Boardman, out to Austin Town. They didn't go out to Liberty and things like that. And they still don't, because they understand the police out there will put the smackdown on them. In fact, the police in Youngstown would often just say, all right, sounds like people in the Kimmel Brooks. My first 5 years of growing up was there. It was bad news. Yeah, they just go, let those dudes in there shoot and kill each other. Rapid calls. Beep. Black people, hey, they shooting again. All right, we on our way. Somebody getting beat up again. In those neighborhoods, guess who the victims were? Not white kids, not, white folks. It was all black folks. Now, if we had a heavy police presence in the Kimmelbrooks, that right there would have kept a lot of innocent black folks safe from the violence committed by, unfortunately, other black folks. So these folks now have said, man, since nobody's going to hold us accountable, we could actually profit better, because there's so much only we're going to get if we just stick with the hood. But when we go into certain areas, they drive nice fancy cars. And if we steal some of these nice fancy cars in broad daylight sometimes, nothing will happen to us. We'll be back, if they even come after us.
I don't think so. And I think the people in this room, if you wrote correctly, you'd see, look at the kind of numbers we have. Yeah. DC, 41 per 100,000, number one that we can find anywhere in the world. Other cities are pretty bad, but they're not as bad as that.
Not as bad as that.
Is that where you want to live? The reporters of the world? Juvenile offenders and crimes against persons, as they say. It's getting worse.
Getting worse.
Not getting better, it's getting worse.
Now, Trump can come out there with all of the presentations and pieces and stuff that and they'll still disagree with him. He can show you a montage of the bodies laid out, just like over when the South African, prime minister came over here and they showed the video and all of that stuff. The fake news tried to flip that. But those weren't actual people in those graves. No, the flags represented all of the people who were killed. That what Trump's lying about the numbers. So all of this stuff that he's showing you is just fake. That's what it is. That's what y'all would rather go ahead and work hard to disprove that this violence is on the up than to just say, wow, I go ahead and trust that. I mean, this right here shows that's the evidence. But it's hard to rely on the evidence when you got fake Democrats who know that their cities are ran like shite, who know their policies have contributed to all of this high crime and violence taking place. They know it. And to go ahead and try to make it seem like, no, Democrats aren't soft on crime. No, Democrats aren't lawless in allowing their folks to act up. Yeah, what they do is they pad the numbers and they send the media out there to try to protect them from looking like they truly are, which is horrible.
There's some kings in the building. Do your yourself and show some respect. There's gorillas in here, gorilla in here, gorillas in here, gorilla in here, gorillas in here, gorilla in here.